Alright guys, 2024 was not Ubisoft's year, and currently the way things are looking, 2025 is not going to be a whole lot better, especially not when you see articles like this out of Eurogamer saying Ubisoft announces studio closure as it lays off 185 staff. Now, let's be honest about one thing. This is not just a Ubisoft problem. There are plenty of other AAA video game studios that are having the exact same problem. Layoffs and games that are utter financial failures. We've seen so many of them in 2024. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more in 2025 too, and that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles at this point. These studios, these companies, have spent far too much time developing these games, far too much money in the development process, without even thinking for a second, do we actually have an audience for this game? And we've seen this with games that try to chase the modern audience, like Concord, like Dustborn, things where it's like, oh, if we just put a bunch of diverse people in it and market the game for its diversity, that will somehow make us money. So again, we've seen games like Star Wars Outlaws, Skull and Bones, all these games out of Ubisoft that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, eventually make no money and cost a lot of people their jobs. And they have nobody but themselves to blame. At the end of the day, if the studio doesn't produce a good game and the game doesn't make money, you can't blame the audience, you can't blame the customers. That falls back on the people that made the game. Now we're seeing the developers of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the next game coming out for Ubisoft in March, telling people Yasuke is not an assassin, and that means he's not getting any of those classic assassin abilities. So they're trying to warn people ahead of time to temper their expectations for Assassin's Creed Shadows. And again, it's not just the fact that Yasuke is this completely fictional, other than a few mentions of him in a few distorted, historical documents, the character. It's the fact that they decided to make him one of the two protagonists of the game, whereas now is the assassin, the shinobi, he of course is the samurai. And instead of just having a traditional Assassin's Creed experience with mostly stealth and combat, now you have this 6.5 foot tall black man like bruising and barreling his way like a bull in the china shop all the way through Japan, butchering people, destroying shrines, all this crazy stuff that it's pissed off a lot of Japanese people, and they're like, we don't want this. And as an Assassin's Creed fan, somebody who played up to a certain point, and eventually I was just like, I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again if it's not going to get better. I noped out after Unity. I was like, I'm done. Maybe there's a few games that came after that. Some people said Valhalla was good. I just kind of got bored with the series after Unity. So that being said, we have seen Ubisoft handle this very poorly from the get-go. All their marketing, all their advertising has been either stealing artwork from other places, using, of course, Yasuke, the Black Samurai, the African Samurai from Thomas Lockley, as the, inspiration for their character. Again, a guy who falsified Wikipedia articles just to support his own book. We've seen Japanese politicians get involved in this. We've seen them steal katanas from One Piece in their marketing and their displays that they put in some of these expos they've attended. They have not done anything right in this entire situation. And yet we still see people like this Rhino the Bouncer on Twitter trying to shill for Ubisoft, talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows hair physics are absolutely incredible. Now, I don't know about you guys, but a bad game is still a bad game, no matter how good the hair physics are. That's not something I'm interested in. Yes, I want to have a game that's got great, gameplay, great combat, great gameplay mechanics. And if the game also has cool physics and cool hair physics and all that great stuff, awesome, wonderful, perfect. But other than that, it's just hair physics. It's not something that I look for in my game. And of course, if you remember, this is something we saw out of the Gamer when they were talking about Dragon Age of Veilguard. Oh, their fans are in awe of Veilguard's hair physics. This is not going to make a bad game good, but hey, at least it looks pretty, right? So before we get into the rest of this drama, just a quick reminder that I have a link down below for Instant Gaming if you guys are trying to save some money on some, upcoming games, pre-orders, or other games that they have in their backlog. Check out Instant Gaming. They've got a lot of games for different consoles, and of course, discounts on all of them available. So we've seen Shohei Kondo, a Japanese YouTuber, speak out a lot about the Assassin's Creed Shadows drama due to their lack of, faithfulness to history and, of course, their disrespect for Japanese culture. This is a big clip that's been making its way around Twitter recently, where you've got Yasuke essentially shooting at these Japanese civilians and then going in and completely destroying this shrine. Now, again, a lot of people are like, hey, you're responsible for the buttons you push, right? And I would argue that there's somewhere... there's like a happy medium somewhere in between. Sure, you're responsible for the decisions you make in a game, and as we all know, Assassin's Creed games, you kill a few too many NPCs, civilians, people who are essential to the story, you desynchronize and you start over. However, there doesn't seem to be any of that in this clip when it comes to the actual shrine itself, something that the Japanese people take extremely seriously, and as a culture, I don't blame them for that. Then somebody said, by the way, it seems the interior of the temple can also be destroyed. If they're making parts of it indestructible, wouldn't it be better to make all Buddhist and Shinto implements indestructible? The anvil engine is easy to set up, and of course you can see another clip right here of Yasuke going in and just absolutely obliterating a bunch of stuff. But again, I don't understand when they were thinking about their cultural, representation and history and all that, why you wouldn't just make certain things indestructible from the get-go. There are plenty of games, and I think actually Black Myth Wukong has several things in the game that you cannot destroy when it comes to different shrines and all that, but they just choose to allow you to go in and disrespect Japanese architecture and culture, whatever. So you have these Assassin's Creed Defender accounts saying pathetic fake outrage. Assassin's Creed had religious sites, burning churches, even fighting a pope. No one cared. Now it's Japan and y'all cry. Breaking shrines is just realism. Where was this energy when Jin Sakai butchered Mongols? Just keep whining. Butchered Mongols. That's really funny because the Mongols were invading Japan, if I got that right. Shohei Kondo responds to this guy saying, I respect Japan, but their society's racism and arrogance are undeniable. They act like being Japanese is some exclusive status while ignoring the uglier parts of their history. The outrage over a black samurai, despite historical proof, just shows their fragile superiority complex. So Shohei responds and said, that's scary. Quote, I respect Japan, but it's a discriminatory society and Japanese people are arrogant. It's not just a game, it's like a miniature version of how Japanese people are viewed. Anime is popular, but there's no respect for Japanese people. And I say that's probably fairly true there. This guy, Tony Daniels, responding to Endymion, says, you kill the Pope under the Vatican, you just desecrate, didn't even spell desecrate properly, churches in Valhalla, F off tourist. Endymion says, if you played those games, you would know, firstly, that Vikings desecrating churches is historically accurate since they did do that. Secondly, no, you did not kill the Pope under the Vatican, which tells me you never played Assassin's Creed 2. You defeat Rodrigo Borgia in Assassin's Creed 2 as the final boss, sure, but it's actually his own son, Caesar Borgia, that kills Rodrigo by forcing a poisoned apple into his mouth in Brotherhood. You do not know what you're talking about and are instead stating lies as facts. You are not an Assassin's Creed fan, you do not know what you're talking about, sit down. And of course, this is the thing. You could always argue semantics about what's respectful to Japanese culture and what, how many Japanese people are and are not offended by it. But twisting facts to suit your own narrative is not exactly going to win you very many arguments online. Shohei Kondo also said, let's be real, on Amazon Japan, I see that Assassin's Creed Shadows sold at least 200 copies last month, while Like a Dragon sold 3,000. I couldn't even find the game in the top 100 on Amazon Japan. Also, I recommend checking the comment section of Ubisoft Japan's YouTube channel with your own eyes, and that's something I have done, and there's a lot of angry Japanese people in the comments down below. So now that gets us caught up, up to today here, where you see Assassin's Creed Shadows Artbook reveals tons of details about the game. Now, we're not going to go to the link that has it, because I do believe it is a adult cartoon site, if you will. But it says, with March 20th and the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows steadily approaching, the hype around the upcoming game is growing stronger by the day, with both Ubisoft fans and those skeptical about the studio and its projects eagerly awaiting its launch, albeit for different reasons. Fueling the growing excitement is a recent leak that took place over the weekend, revealing the contents of what is most likely the Art of Assassin's Creed Shadows art book nearly 2 months ahead of its scheduled release. Shared by one collector man on a, let's just say, certain anime and manga themed website strictly for adults, the image gallery appears to contain the entirety of the leaked art book, revealing key details about Assassin's Creed Shadows' story, setting, characters, UI, and more. The book opens with a foreword from Ubisoft's art director, Thierry Dansero, who described the game as accurate and true to the historical timeline and culture, which I think is a gigantic, absolute, hilarious thing for him to say, because, come on, they've gotten very few things historically accurate for this entire game. Stating that Ubisoft doubled, if not tripled, the effort to make sure that we had a thorough understanding of the Japanese culture of this time period, and yet they've had cherry blossom trees blooming at the same time that they had watermelons a whole 50 years early, I do believe. Come on, guys. He also revealed that Ubisoft took a field trip to Japan to recreate the country's mesmerizing landscapes, architecture, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so then you get into some of the actual leaks. You see these people, Fujibayashi Nagato and Katsuhime, I hopefully pronounced that properly. And Savvy says that the female character here is really interesting. She's into the manly things like guns and gunpowder, calling her right now she's a love interest and not for Yasuke. I've read too much shitty Yuri fanfiction to not know archetypes when I see them. And Endymion pointing out that Ubisoft makes Yasuke a samurai, gives him Ronin armor that criminal Ronins would wear. What did Ubisoft mean by this? I also find it funny that in this art concept here it says, this concept piece explores Yasuke's flamboyant kabukamono garb made with high quality fabrics. And the funniest thing is it says, worn by wandering games of samurai Ronin who dressed and spoke in deliberately outrageous ways. I'm telling you, they're just trying to make Yasuke gay. So they put a big black man in this game and they're making him a gay samurai. Keita says they should have only had Naoe in this game because this looks cool, and I will admit, this actually looks pretty cool. I think, again, one protagonist would have done a lot better than trying to split duties between two protagonists. Assassin's Creed Shadows Artbook leak features recruitable non-binary character. You'll be able to collect a bunch of misfits, some of which seem to pander to modern-day language, and this is kind of like, again, the kiss of death for a lot of games coming out of Ubisoft.
So this is from the supposed Artbook leak. It is possible that it is fake, of course, but supposedly the Assassin's Creed Shadows Artbook has leaked. It, of course, gives off story, gives off some background, gives off characters. Now, every character is written very specifically, right? So we have a he up here. We talk about Nawe. She, you know, they use that. But this character is quite interesting right here. Ibuki. Free-spirited, rebellious, yet joyful by nature, this recruitable ally is a solitary ronin who comes from a clan of obedient samurai, but now follows a unique moral compass. They were well-trained and excel in combat, but always felt constrained by the strict rules and stoicism of the samurai class. Typically clad in a classic kimono and hakama pants, Ibuki harbors a deep reverence for poetry, art, and nature. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb, just like with some of the other things they've got wrong. This is just a form of pandering, but what do I know? There are some other characters here.
And she goes on to talk about how there's, you know, he, hims, and there's she, hers, and all that kind of stuff in the other character screens that you'll see. This character seems to be the only non-binary one, but again, there is no record that I know of that ever had any non-binary samurai in Japan. It just wasn't a thing. There's no Japanese samurai who went by they, them. This is just such a complete and utter disaster made for nobody but the modern audience. And again, is the average Assassin's Creed fan going to care? No, they're just going to consume. They're just going to play it and say it's the best thing since the next best thing, right? That's just the way that these people's mentality works. The reality is, though, this game, honest to God, is nothing but pandering to a select group of people. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to do as well as they were hoping. I've been saying from the get-go, I think it'll probably either make its money back or maybe make a little bit of money. But I don't think it's going to do the numbers that they really need it to. That being said, I'm going to let you guys share your thoughts down in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys on the next one. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.